Okay, in this video, we are going to be talking about volume of prisms, and we are going to go over two different types of prisms, a rectangular prism and a triangular prism. All right, so what's volume? Volume is the amount of space that a figure encloses. It is three-dimensional, so it's not, we're not dealing with 2D shapes like we did in 5th grade, where we found the area of a rectangle or square. So now we have a 3D shape, and it's the amount of space that a figure encloses, so it's basically figuring out how much stuff we can fit in that 3D shape. And it's always important to realize it is always answered in cubic units, centimeters cubed or cubic centimeters. Okay, so we have big B versus little b. And let me draw here. Little b is the bottom line, base times height. If I wanted to find the area of this, little b is the bottom line of a 2D shape. The little b, well, let's just say it's 5 inches, and this is 4 inches. So I could use these two to find the perimeter or the area of this rectangle, if it were a rectangle. Okay. Now it's important to realize the little b is always attached to the right angle. Again, the little b is always attached to the right angle. And again, the little b is involved with 2D shapes. Big B, let's go back to this. Big B is the bottom, it's the area of the bottom shape. So this right here, it would be this rectangle on the bottom. For this cylinder, it would be the circle, area of the circle. So the formula is going to change. Usually it's going to be volume equals capital B times H to find the volume. But this one, we have our H right here. We'll go to a different color, but then we have the width and the length. It's a cursive L. To find the capital B, we find the area of the bottom shape, so it's length times width, and then we also multiply it by height. For the cylinder, to find the volume, it's still the same formula, but now the B becomes capital B, the area of the bottom shape. You find the area of the bottom, which is a circle, so it's pi r squared, then times h. So this becomes this, and this formula became length times width times height, because again, that capital B stands for area of the bottom shape. Right? So we have a formula, length times width times height. Of course, technically, we always start off with capital B times H. For a rectangular prism, it's always going to be this right here. Okay. So we're going to do a couple problems. One where we're given the dimensions, and we find the volume. One where we are given the volume, and we find a missing dimension. Okay, so let's just say we have dimensions of 7 inches, 8 inches, and 4 inches. So, if I wanted to find the volume, first thing I'm going to do is write down the formula. Volume equals capital B times H. Then I'm going to write down the specific formula. Volume equals length times width times height. And then I plug in what I do know to solve for what I don't know. So, commutative property of multiplication states that if you're just multiplying, it doesn't matter what order you're multiplying the numbers, you're always going to get the same product. So we're going to do 7 times 8. You can get 56, and then 56 times 4, we get 224. So our answer is 224 inches cubed, or cubic inches. So that would be our answer. Again, on this, once we have our dimensions, we write down the formula. Then we write down the specific formula, because we got to find that capital B stands for area of the bottom shape. Write down the specific formula, and then plug in what we do know to solve for what we don't know, and we get our answer. Great. Now, let's do one where we have the volume, but we're missing a dimension. So let's say this is, the volume is 600 inches cubed. And we know the length is 12 inches, the width is 5 inches, but we don't know the height. Okay? So in this particular instance, we're going to write down the formula. Capital B times H. Then write down the specific formula. And then we're going to plug in what we do know to solve for what we don't know. Now we do know the volume, so I'm going to plug that in over here, 600. And I know the length is 12. And I know the width is 5, but I don't know the height. Once I get to this point, it becomes an algebraic equation. So let's go ahead on the right side. Let's combine like terms. So we get 600 equals 60 and h. Okay. I'm trying to isolate the variable. What am I doing to this h? I'm multiplying by 60. The inverse, or the opposite of that, is dividing by 60. That gives you 1, and 1 times h is h. Whatever you do to the right side, you do to the left side. Of course, you can cross out those zeros. 60 divided by 6 is 10. And so our height is 10 inches. And there's no point, there's no need to say inches cubed because we're not dealing with volume. We're dealing with one particular dimension or measurement. So it's just 10 inches. It's not 10 inches cubed. Okay, so what did we do here? Looked at the dimensions given, all the information given, wrote down the formula, wrote down the specific formula, and then plugged in what we do know. Again, we knew the volume, we knew 2 of the sides, we're just missing 1 of them. So plug in what you do know to solve for what you don't know, and then you solve it algebraically. So that's how you would solve a volume problem if one of the dimensions was missing. Okay. So now we're going to go to a triangular prism. Triangular prism is the exact same formula, so it's volume equals capital B times H. Now, you might ask yourself, what is the bottom shape on this? Now, the way it's drawn, it looks like the rectangle is the bottom shape. The way it's drawn, that's true. That technically is not the bottom shape. The bottom shape on this one is a triangle. So just imagine this is an object in your hand. You could just put the triangle on its end where the triangle will be on the bottom. Another way to definitely easily tell that it's the bottom shape, it's in the name, triangular prism. Now if we go back, what's the bottom shape on this? It's a rectangle. And technically it wouldn't matter what rectangle you put on the bottom, because again, the commutative property of multiplication, you're always going to get the same product. On this, it's very important that you realize triangular prism, triangle is going to be on the bottom. Okay. So now we have our generic formula, V equals capital B times H, and then I'm going to write down the formula for volume of a triangular prism. So the area on the bottom shape is a triangle. Formula for area of a triangle, I'm going to do parentheses around this, lowercase b times h divided by 2. And then the times the height of the 3D shape. Okay, so again, I know I have 2 h's here, but this h goes here. It's the height of that 3D shape. This h is the height of the 3D shape. Okay. All right, so let's make up some dimensions here. Doesn't really matter. 10 inches, 7 inches, and we'll say the height is 4 inches. Okay. Now I'm going to plug in what I do know to solve for what I don't know. So volume equals, now the b and h, lowercase b and lowercase h, for the area of the triangle are 4 and 7 over 2, and then 10 for the height of the 3D shape. I'm going to follow the order of operations. 4 times 7 is 28. 28 divided by 2 is 14, and then 14 times 10, that's right, is 140 inches cubed. That is our answer. Okay, really fast. It's a triangular prism, so the triangles are bottom shape. So that capital B stands for area of the bottom shape. So I write down the formula for area of a triangle, which is lowercase b times h divided by 2. And of course, we have to multiply by the height of the 3D shape. Then I'm going to plug in what I do know to solve for what I don't know, and then multiply and solve it. When we solve this one, we got volume equals 140 inches cubed. Let's do one more. This time we're going to be given the volume of 200 meters cubed. We're going to say the let's do the B is 10 in the meters, and the height of the 3D shape is 5 meters. This is not drawn to scale. What is the height of the triangle? Okay, so let's write down our formula. Volume equals capital B times H. Write down the specific formula. It's a triangular prism, so we're dealing with lowercase b times H divided by 2 times the height of the triangle. All right, so let's plug in what we do know to solve for what we don't know. This one's going to be a little more involved, solving it algebraically. Let's go to a different color. So we have volume is 200 equals, I know my base, lowercase b. I don't know my height yet. I know 2 is 2. And I know my height is 5. So what I'm going to do, first step is I'm going to take care of this 5. I'm multiplying by 5. The inverse is dividing by 5. Whatever you do to the right side, you do to the left side. And that gives me 40 equals, it's equal sign, 10h divided by 2. Okay, so what I did was, all right, there's a lot of different ways we could start off this problem once we get to solving it, isolating the h. But I have the 5 over here. I'm multiplying by 5. The inverse, the opposite of multiplying by 5 is dividing by 5. Whatever you do to the right side, do to the left side, and 200 divided by 5 is 40. That leaves me with 40 equals 10h, that's an h, divided by 2. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I am dividing by 2. So what's the inverse of that? Let's do a different color. Might be a little easier to see. The inverse of dividing by 2 is multiplying by 2. They cancel each other out. And then whatever you do to the right side, you do to the left side. So I'm going to write what I have left over here. So 2 times 40 is 80. And then I'm left with what's right here, which was 10h. Now, at this point, I need to isolate the h, which I started off by doing, but I'm at the very end, I'm isolating the h. I'm multiplying by 10. The inverse of multiplying by 10 is dividing by 10. And then that gives you 1. 1 times h is h. Whatever you do to the right side, you do to the left side. So our h is 8 meters. So again, solving this was a little more involved than the other ones. But we start off with finding out the dimensions that are given, write down the generic formula, right? Then we write down the specific formula, and we plug in what we do know to solve for what we don't know. Once we're at that point, then we just start solving it algebraically. Sometimes it's going to be relatively easy. This one was a little more involved, and there's, again, multiple ways you could have solved it as long as you get 8, because 8 times 10 is 80, divided by 2 is 40, because it's a triangle, and then 40 times 5 is 200, so we know we got the right answer. But hopefully this has helped in solving and finding the volume of prisms. If you have any questions, you can email me at jhewlett@leisd.ws, and have a great day.